guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, we'll be drafting out a palazzo pant with fly zipper and pocket. So if you're interested, keep on watching and let's jump right into the video. I already have my pattern paper on my work table and I'll go ahead and mark the distance from my waist to my hip. But before I do that, I'm going to take out 1.5 inches for my band. So I'll be adding a band to this trouser. So I'll take out the 1.5 inches and I'll mark 8 inches, which is the distance from my waist to my hip. I'll rule a straight line across the 8 inches mark. The next point I'm going to take is my crotch line. So to get your crotch line, a video is going to be displaying on the screen on how I got mine. So after placing my tape like this, what I had was 27 inches. I divided it by 2 and it gave me 13.5 inches. So still taking out the 1.5 inches for the band, I placed the 13.5 inches and I ruled a straight line across. So I have my waistline, my hip line and my crotch line. The next point I'll mark is my thigh line. So I'm going to go down from my crotch line by 4 inches and then I'll go ahead and rule a straight line across. After doing that, the next thing I'll do is to place my hip circumference divided by 4. I'm going to add 1 inch to it for ease. So my hip circumference divided by 4 is 9.5 inches. I added 1, which gave me 10.5 inches. So I'll mark the 10.5 inches on my waistline, on my hip line and on my crotch line, and I'll connect the 3 dots into a straight line. After doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to get my crotch extension line. So I'm going to place my tape on my crotch line, which has my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch allowance. What I had was 10.5 inches, so I'm going to divide the 10.5 inches by 4. After doing that, what I had was almost 3 inches, so I went ahead to approximate it and I made it 3 inches. So I'm going to extend this crotch line by 3 inches. So from this straight line, I'm going to mark out 3 inches and then I will indicate that with a point. After doing that, I'm going to go up by 1 inch, just like you see me doing. I'll also indicate that with a point, and then I'll use my ruler to connect from the hip line to meet the 1 inch and from the 1 inch to meet the 3 inches mark. On my waistline, I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, which is 7 inches. I'm going to add 1 inch for that and I'll add 1 inch for stitching allowance. So I'm going to mark 9 inches on my waistline. After doing that, I'm going to connect from that point to meet the hip line. Remember, we already have our hip circumference divided by 4 on the hip line, so there's no need to take our hip measurement. I'll just land from the waist to meet the hip, just like you see me doing. After doing that, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to determine the length of my pants. Still taking the 1.5 inches for my band. The length of my pattern paper is 41.1 inches, so plus the 1.5, it is 43 inches. The length of my pants is 41 inches. 2 inches is for my hemming allowance. So what I'm going to do is to determine the wideness of my pant. To do that, you're going to measure around your thigh, and whatever you get from the measurement, you're going to divide it by 2 and you're going to add allowance for ease. So this is a palazzo pant. So my round thigh measurement is 22 inches. 22 divided by 2 is 11 inches. I went ahead to add 2 extra inches to it because this pant is a free pant. So I marked 13 inches from my thigh line to meet the end of the pattern paper and I connected all the dots into a straight line. To cut out my pocket, I went ahead to cut out the allowance that I have on the waist area. So I'm going to go in by 2 inches on the waist area, just like you see me doing, and then I'll go down by 5.5 inches or 6 inches. It depends on how long you want the pocket to be. So I'm going to use my ruler to connect. So you can just slant it and you can do it the way I just did it. After doing that, I'm going to label that part. So guys, the next thing I'll do is to draft out my fly zipper. So I'm going to go out by 2 inches from the crotch line, as you can see me doing. I'll mark that. I'll go down again by another 2 inches and then I'll use my ruler to connect into a straight line to meet the hip line. After doing that, I'll use my ruler to connect to meet the crotch line, just like you see me doing. So that's all for the fly zipper. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark my dart. So I'm going to place my tape on the crotch area like this, and I'll take my bust band measurement, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and then I'm going to go down, still taking out the 1.5 inches for my band. I'll go down by 4 inches. That is how long I want my dart to be. I'll connect the 2 dots into a straight line, and I'll take half an inch on both sides of the straight line. So guys, we are done with drafting the front pattern, so I'll go ahead and cut. After cutting, I'm going to fold in the fly zipper so I can use this back pattern paper, this front pattern paper, to cut out the back. So I'll fold in because the back does not have a fly zipper. After folding it, I'm going to fold my fabric into 2, and I'm going to place my pattern paper on my fabric, and then I'll go ahead and pin all the way around so the pattern paper does not move. So when placing your pattern paper on your fabric, make sure you have extra fabric on the waist area and also extra fabric on the crotch area. So I'm going to go up from my waist point by 2 inches. After doing that, I will indicate that with a point. So I'm going to go ahead and extend my crotch extension line by 2.5 inches. So if you're on a bigger side, you can extend by 3 inches, 3.5 inches, and it depends on how free you want your pant to be. For me, I am extending by 2.5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark the 2.5 inches following the shape that I have on the pattern paper. And on the crotch extension line, I'm going to extend that line by 3 inches, just like I did for the front. I'm going to extend that line by 3 inches. I'll go out from the pattern paper by 3 inches, and then I'll use my ruler to connect so that the crotch line will be sitting together. After connecting, I'll continue extending the 2.5 inches mark to meet that 3 inches. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, just follow what I am doing, okay? After doing that, guys, this is what I have. I'll also go ahead and extend the pants leg by 2.5 inches. I'll do that till I reach the end of the fabric, and I'll connect all the dots into a straight line. After doing that, guys, we'll move over to the waist area. So I'm going to place my tape on my pattern paper, and I'll mark the waist. What I had there was 8.5 inches. So I'm going to place my tape on the line that I just extended by 2.5 inches, and I'll mark 8.5 inches. So this is going to be our new waistline for the back. So I'm going to slant my ruler like this, so you can see that this line is not straight. I'll slant like this to meet the crotch extension line, and I'll use my chalk to indicate my hip line, just like you see me doing. After doing that, I'll use my ruler to connect from my new waistline to meet the hip line. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut the extra fabric. I'll also go ahead and cut out the excess fabric on the hip area, and after doing that, guys, this is what I have. So I'm going to go ahead and notch my dart area, okay, so that I'll know where to take in my darts when I'm sewing, and then I'll pin the crotch area together. Since my fabric is already folded on each other right sides, I'm just going to go ahead and pin the crotch area together, and I'll go ahead and sew and also take in my dart. So go ahead and cut out our pocket. So I'm going to trim this part of the pocket out, and I'm going to bring in a fresh pattern paper that I'll be using to cut our pocket. So guys, I'm going to place this fresh pattern paper underneath my pants, just like you see me doing, and I'll use my pin to hold it down, and then I'll trace out the pocket like this. After doing that, I'm going to remove my pins, and I'll bring out the pattern paper. So guys, to determine the length of my pocket, I'm going to fold the pattern paper into 2 equal halves like this, and then I'm going to mark 10 inches. 10 inches is how long I want the pocket to be. So I'm going to place my tape like this, and I'll mark 10 inches. I'll go ahead and cut out the excess pattern paper. And for the wideness of the pocket, I want it to be 6.5 inches wide. So once I open it up, it is 13 inches. So I'll go ahead and cut out the excess paper on the base of this pocket. And yeah, guys, that is all we have to do for the pockets. I'm just going to go ahead and pin it for you guys to see. So this is how it's going to look like. So I'm still going to place my tape on the waist area, and I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4. Okay, and I'll cut out the excess pattern paper from that point. So the my waist measurement, what I had there before, was 8.5 inches. So I'm going to mark the 8.5 inches like this, and then I'll connect from that point to meet my hip line, sorry, the base of the pocket, and then I'll go ahead and trim off the excess pattern paper. So guys, after doing that, our pocket is ready. The next thing I'm going to do is to fold my fabric into two, and then I'm going to place my pattern paper on it, and then I'll pin it all the way around. I'm going to trace out what I have on this pattern paper. I'm also going to place my pocket on my fabric also, and I'll also go ahead and cut out my band. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Please stay tuned for the sewing version of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe if you are not a subscriber. Leave your questions in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one.